what most of us are really wanting is to live centered in the heart. Like we are love. We're love.
Yes.
That's who
Yeah.
we are. And what we just really struggle to live from that place because we get wounded and we put up armor and we protect ourselves. And that's because we've learned that we had to do that,
Right.
And so that's the other thing on this path is a lot of self-forgiveness, because we'll go, oh, when you have this realization, you go, I can't believe that I did that or lived this way for so long or did this. And the thing that I always say to people is, there's a part of you that was protecting you. Good
Yeah.
job to that part of you that held that piece of armor as long as it needed to, because that's how you survived. And now we can make a choice to put it down.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Everything's Okay, a mental health podcast brought to you by Crazy Ant Media. And I am both, I'm not going to lie, both excited and nervous to talk about this week's topic on the show. That's because we're talking about spirituality and its recognized growth in society and the impact that it has on many people's lives, specifically mental health. And honestly, I couldn't think of a single person better to be the guest on this show and speak to this about than my mentor and guide and dear friend, Autumn Reeser. So welcome, Autumn. How are you today?
Oh, I'm good. What a lovely introduction. Thank you for having me.
It's so true. You're a lovely person. It deserves a lovely introduction. So, I really am kind of excited to talk to you today and nervous because you and I talk a lot about this, but I don't really talk about it publicly very often, about my spiritual journey. So to put it all out there, this is kind of like really the first time that I'm just going to put it out there for the world and talk about my journey and your journey and specifically what goes on and just the things that I've experienced over the last few years. So here we go. Fingers crossed. I was kind of really inspired by you, though, to do this show, honestly, because you yourself were very guarded, if you don't mind my saying, at first. You didn't post a whole lot. You didn't talk about it a whole lot publicly, and you were very guarded about who you shared it with. And then I saw your growth. I saw you start to come out of the shell a little bit and say, you know what, I'm more comfortable sharing. I'm going to put this out there. I'm going to go a little more. And it really inspired me to see somebody who, if you can do that, if you can kind of come at it and say, I'm going to open up, I'm going to start sharing, I'm going to start seeing how the world reacts to it, then why can't I? I'm not nearly in the public eye the way you are, so I feel like the judgment on me is not anything what it would be on you. It was very inspiring to see you be able to do that. So what I would really like to do, because I'm not sure if a lot of listeners to this podcast, we've had you on the other one numerous times, but if they're aware of your spiritual journey and your path that you've been on over the last few years. So I'm really curious. I want to start this off because I know that I've been hit with this a lot. Define spirituality for me, because I feel like when I first started talking about it publicly, people came at me and they were confusing it with an organized religion.
Right.
And they were hammering me down about, well, you don't even go to church. How do you claim you're on this spiritual path? And all these things about, or what are you going to try to cram this down my throat? Make me do this or make me do that. So for you, how do you define spirituality, the difference between religion and spirituality?
Yeah, that's such a great question. I think, first of all, I want to say that to me, all journeys are spiritual journeys because we're spirit in body.
Yes.
We're having a temporary experience of being human here, and we are spirit soul. And so everybody's on a spiritual journey.
Yeah.
And I think the most common container we have to understand this is organized religion, is the way that we culturally can conceptualize something that is inconceptualizable. if that's a word, that you can't fully put words to this because it's beyond words. And we try and we try and we come up with practices that allow us to access and these parts of ourselves and remember who we are and connect with the divine within, however you want to define it. But it's ultimately ineffable. And I think that's why it is so hard to have a discussion about it, because it means something different to everyone. The way where we filed it in our Rolodex
Yeah.
is completely specific to the journey that we've been on, the culture we're raised in, the country we're from, our parents' religious beliefs, and it's all so personal. And so it feels very tender, very, very tender to talk about these things. Can feel very tender to talk about them with our loved ones, with our friends, with the barista down the street.
which tends to happen, right? Like, so I love that you brought that up. But that's a really good point, because I feel like I was really nervous to talk about it with family, because they're not along the same journey as I am, and not on the same path as I am, and they're early on in my life, there was a very structured, we did go to church every Sunday, and it was, we were brought up this way and that way. And then it shifted and kind of went away from that. So my upbringing was drastically different depending on where we were at in our journey to begin with. So to come from that, it was really like, okay, well, here's where I'm at now. So I was really nervous at first to talk to them about it. And then when I started dropping little hints here or there about I was doing this, or I was doing that, or I got initial resistance. It was a turnoff right away. It's like, what are you talking about? Why are you? It's ridiculous. It's this or that. Even I had a few people say correlate it with witchcraft. Like, oh my God, are you talking about with the stones and the crystals and all that? What are you, a warlock now? I'm like, what? So the misconception out there about what it is or what it isn't is really interesting to me, that there are so many people that don't understand the dynamic of people on this journey, and yet it's something that you're seeing more and more often. More and more people are in touch with the divine and finding themselves on spiritual journeys and putting it out there publicly, and yet the misconception about what it's all about is still there. So I find that very, very interesting that that's still an issue. For me, I kind of define it as religion is more of an external, right? It's you're talking about the external world in a building, in it's more materialistic. For me, spirituality it's inward. It's more of a journey with your soul and your spirit, and where you're looking there, as opposed to the external world. Not that the external world isn't extremely involved in it, but it's more of an inward journey. For me, that's my path in spirituality. It's more inward than external. And how I proceed externally is how I proceed inward, and where I'm going inward. So that's how I kind of try to explain it to people who don't understand the journey that I'm on, if that makes sense.
Sure. Yeah. And I can understand why we want to be trying to express this to our friends and family, because we're wanting to be seen, and we're wanting to be
Yes.
understood, and we're wanting to be loved. And it's such a tricky place to try to get those things, because the spiritual journey is such a personal one.
Yeah.
And there are people who it's like they find that in their church, and that is where they find it, and that is true for them. And so everybody's path is unique and perfect for them, and I think the one thing that I can see that feels true to me is the further you proceed on a spiritual journey, the more you're asked to put down judgment, the concept of judgment.
Yeah.
And to me, that's often how I can tell where someone is at on their path, how much they're clinging to judgment, because it's a vibration you can feel, right? And that they're able to listen to somebody else's experience of their spirituality without it closing them down. right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like that's one of the ways that I can see where it is, because what we want to do is transmute judgment into discernment. We don't want to just throw it out, our good ability to read life
Yeah.
and people in the room, and our ability to stay safe, and our ability to know what and who is good for us. We don't want to put that down, but there's a way to hold that, which is discernment, which doesn't have a vibration of hierarchy within it. It's basically just knowing, here's what's resonant for me and here's what's not. Whereas the vibration of judgment is sort of a shadow vibration of discernment.
Mm-hmm.
And that is, this is better than that.
Right.
Then we get into that good and evil, bad and good. And I think there's a Rumi poem, right? There's a field beyond right and wrong. I'll meet you there.
Right.
That to me is where we're all moving towards. And you can walk down many, many different paths to get there, because that field is a higher spiritual plane.
Yeah.
And there are many ways to get there. I think it's a Buddhist saying that says it goes something like this: the finger is pointing at the moon, but the finger is not the moon. So the finger is the spiritual path, basically the religion, the whatever practice it is that's pointing you at the moon. It's the finger pointing at the moon, but it's not the moon. And the moon is what you are, is the experience of spirit, is the experience of being connected to the divine. But the finger is not that. The finger is just trying to point to something that you can't actually name or reach entirely in this plane, if that makes sense.
No, totally makes sense. That's a really great way to look at it too. Talk about a little bit, because you brought up judgment. Initially, when you started on your path and you started sharing, did you receive a lot of judgment, negativity towards what you were talking about? People coming at you with, I guess, not understanding. And so they were casting judgment about whether they felt it was right or wrong on the path that you were moving on. Did you experience that?
I don't think there was a real point at which I was like, now I'm going to start
right,
talking about my spirituality. Instead, it was more this place I reached of just wanting to express my human experience here. And my human experience here happens to involve a very, very deep connection to the divine, very deep connection to God, source, the place and one from whom we come. And I eventually just, like, that overflows in me. And as I became more free, more embodied, really, more comfortable, just wanting to fucking live my life,
yes,
wanting to bring all of me to this life, that's a huge part of it. And so it was sort of just a part of the waterfall of expression that was coming forward. And, people have an opinion about everything. I can post something that's completely innocuous and somebody will go, look at your eyebrow. Like, I don't know. They're going to have an opinion about it, and I'll go, I wasn't even thinking about that before I posted this picture of this cat. Like, to me, it was a photo of a kitten. But I just got to this place where I'm like, that's when somebody says something like about that, that's about them and their relationship to their eyebrows.
Yes.
It has nothing to do with my eyebrows. And the more that I could just see that and realize it, the more amusing it becomes.
Yes. Yeah. I love that, because I had a really hard time with that at first, understanding that the more people judged me, or the more negativity that people were throwing at me, that was a reflection of them and not me. And I had a really hard time at first grasping that. I would get angry. I would be like, who do you think you are to put that on me? Kind of, instead of just, and then I would go into this spiral of, oh, well, am I that? Do I do that? Maybe they're right, kind of, and starting that self-doubt. And it's just one of those things. So it took me a while to really go, you know what, just step back and go, people who cast judgment like that are dealing with stuff maybe you don't know that they're dealing with. And that's more of something that they're going through as opposed to you, and they're just directing that onto you. And the more I started doing that and the more I realized that that's the case, the less anger I had, the freer I felt, the happier I felt, knowing that that's not me, that's them, right? And at some point, they're going to have to deal with that. And that helped immensely with me dealing with anger issues, and also just kind of being more authentic. I felt like for the longest time in my life, I was not living my authentic self. I was not being my authentic self. I would put on masks to try to be who I thought somebody wanted me to be. And it was causing me great distress. But I would internalize that. I would keep that to myself. And so that I, not knowing that I was doing that to myself, and what that was doing to other people by not being authentic, by worrying about what people would or would not think, I didn't realize what that was doing. And it was when I started on this path and I started realizing these type things, it was so eye-opening to me about, wait a minute, what am I doing with my life right now? Where am I going? Why do I think this way? What am I? And I think that's really kind of the first little bits of my journey is realizing things that I was doing wrong, or I don't want to say wrong, because when you're living your life, it's all about experience and learning and growing. And so not necessarily wrong, but just not necessarily the right path for me. And I had to figure out where I was trying to go and who I was trying to be at that point. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's you were engaging in patterns and actions and using language that didn't serve you.
Yeah.
Is what it sounds like. You know, there's no right or wrong. It's just like, hey, I'm not getting the results that my heart is hoping for. So these are the moments that we go, okay, let me be courageous in making a shift, which I really saw you do, you know? And I think particularly as a man, stepping into this realm of, I'm going to be vulnerable, I'm going to be truthful, that was really scary for people in your life.
Yeah.
That I saw, right? That when we change like that, it calls forth everyone in our circle, because we're all connected, and it shows them like, hey, I'm gonna make a shift. It shifts everything. It's like a spider web, right? It's like a spider on the web. It moves it everywhere, and that's scary for people.
Yeah.
Because that's asking them to make a change too. They're being asked to relate to you in a new way, and they might not want to do that. And, you know, that's one of the things on the spiritual path that people don't talk about a lot. But when we have the courage to expand, to make a change, it might mean leaving people behind. It shakes the branches of our tree.
Yeah, it does.
And,
yeah, it
you
does.
know, and some of the fruit might fall off.
Yeah.
And that can be really, really sad and really hard and really scary. And that's why a lot of people stay stuck. Because they're afraid of that. Mm-hmm. They're afraid of the changes that stepping into deeper authenticity and truth requires, not just from them, but from the people around them. And that's really, I have a lot of compassion for that. I think for a while that I didn't fully understand that, how much courage it does take to do what you've done, to say, hey, I'm going to stop doing things the old way. And I'm gonna make a right turn here. I was going this way. I'm gonna slow down the car, and now I'm gonna turn this way, because everything has to change.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and you too. Yeah, you were very much living a certain life, and there was, you had this and this and this, and realizing that this isn't exactly where I want to be and what I want to do, and this isn't right for me. And so you same, you had the courage to go, wait, I've got to step back and go, is this where I want to be and how I want to be living my life and who I authentically am? And I have to say, it was more courageous for you, in my opinion, although I appreciate what you said, because you are in the public spotlight. So everything is on you. When you make a right turn and you're going to be like, I'm going to do this or I'm going to do that, it's all on you. It's like everybody's paying attention.
And
why
then
is she doing this?
someone's going to comment on my eyebrow.
Exactly, which is just absurd to me. But Just briefly, I think that for me, I started where I knew I always was, right? I've always been a very sensitive, in touch with my feelings type of guy. And that was very evident when I lost my dad and how I reacted to losing my dad, when I lost my brother and how I reacted losing my brother. But from that moment, though, it was always a bad thing. I was always told, you can't, man up, men aren't supposed to be like that. You have to be the protector. You have to be the person that's in control and strong, and showing a sensitivity side makes you weak, blah, 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 blah. That culture that is put on men, especially in my age and when I was growing up. And so I kind of very casually, very quietly just started getting rid of that person and started wearing those masks. I couldn't show that I was upset. I couldn't show that I was sad about something or mad about something or any type of a feeling, because that's not what I'm supposed to do. Kind of. So when I did make my right turn, yeah, I upset a lot of people, and a lot of people were like, hey, fuck you, I'm out of here. You're not the person I thought you were. And I'm like, actually, I'm the person I've always been. I'm just not the person you thought I was. And so, or who you want me to be. And so it does affect relationships. It does. And it's really hard when sometimes it's family, or really close lifelong friends. And you're like, wow, I thought that this would be a person that would understand what I was going through and be there, and they're not. And that's okay. Right? That's the other thing. That's okay. Is sometimes people come in and out for a reason. And so you have to learn to be okay with that. But for you, like I said, it was very good because your whole life upended, right? A divorce. It's now you're a single mom. You're not there. Now you're moving on, selling this house.
And I walked away from the vast majority of my possessions, but that's because I was claiming my peace.
Exactly. And I'm sure though, a lot of people were like, "What is she doing? She's walking away from everything she always wanted." Blah blah. Well, it's everything I thought I wanted, or everything I was told I should have.
Yeah.
But it's not actually what I wanted, and I found that out, right?
Yeah, that's exactly it. And that's what people don't understand. It's like things might look a certain way on the outside. Okay, well, you've got this, right? You've checked the boxes. It looks so great. But what is your heart saying?
Yeah.
What's your heart saying? Is this truly what's calling you or not? And I think a lot of people can feel guilt about that. I should feel this. I should feel this. But the truth is they don't.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? And that's where the courage comes in. Let me be with the truth of how I feel. And, our feelings are not the end all be all. Our feelings are often pointing to something deeper.
Yes.
Like, it's not, oh, I'm unhappy in this marriage, and so then the marriage is the problem. That's not always it.
Right.
It's often just the symptom that's pointing you to something deeper, which is like, oh, hey, I'm needing more expression.
Yeah.
Sometimes it can be that, or I'm needing more passion, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you need to leave everything in your life. It might mean that you need to find somewhere where your soul has more space to express itself and to try new things. It's like, literally sometimes it can be as simple as like, I'm going to go take a salsa class 3 days a week.
Yeah.
Right? But even that can be a massive shift for people.
So it goes back to kind of what I was saying about how I correlate my spirituality and my journey is inward. Like what you said, it's not that necessarily the marriage was bad because of this or that. It's like I had to start looking in and saying, what's making me unhappy? Why am I feeling this emotion or this way? Is it something I'm doing? And I realized the more that I started looking in, I realized that things that I hadn't dealt with in my life were causing things outwardly to not be where I wanted to be in life. And so, and that's the other thing is learning to understand that and take the responsibility of, okay, this person might have been this or that, and maybe there was some friction here or there, or maybe something was missing here or there, but you too are also the cause of whatever is
Oh,
going
yes.
on. And a lot of
Yeah.
people, because when you go through a bad divorce or when you go through something, it's always the blame on the other person. I couldn't have possibly, it's this or that, right? Nobody wants to be like, I'm the good guy in this situation, blah, blah, blah. But you have to realize that you maybe you are the good guy in this situation, but it doesn't mean that you're not doing something that's catering to what's happening in your life at that point. And I'm still working on things like that, still going deep inward to say, okay, maybe I haven't dealt with this situation the way I thought I had. And that's a big part of my journey so far, is under thinking that I had resolved something, thinking that I had moved on from that, and then realizing no, and having to revisit that. That's been a huge part of my journey, going, okay, maybe it's never really, maybe it's always having to go back and kind of look and see and adjust and turn, which has been a very interesting process for me. Do you think that would you say that the breakup of your marriage and walking away from everything in that aspect of your life was the catalyst for your path to shift directions? Well, or did you have a moment when you just kind of knew this is who I am, this is where I'm headed, and really started to express yourself more authentically?
Oh my gosh, that's a big, complicated question. Let me see if I can come up with a cohesive way to answer that. Um, Before I go into that, I want to speak to what you were sharing before that, Dustin, and that piece where sometimes in our healing journey we feel like, why is this problem back again? Haven't
Yeah.
I resolved this? Right? You're like, what? I can't believe I'm dealing with this again. And I think the useful metaphor to think of there is the spiral. So
Yes.
you're spiraling. So you're at a different level of dealing with that. You're at a different vibrational level of dealing with the same issue, which are these core issues that we came here to learn and deal with. Like, I very much view this place as a school, as like the school of earth, and this is a place that we came to learn and study, and so we each came with a certain curriculum. So basically it's like you went to math class, and then you're circling around, and now it's algebra, and you're circling around, and now it's geometry, but it's all still part of the same
Yeah.
teaching.
Yeah.
um, I think what I want to say is, on this path, we can be really hard on ourselves.
Yeah.
When we're trying new things and we're trying to grow, and we just keep feeling like, how come I can't resolve this? And so that's one of the ways that I coach people. It's like, it's not that you haven't resolved it. You've come back around. Have you learned the lesson? Here's a deeper part of it. And the way that I view it is that, like, the psyche wants to come into wholeness. The psyche wants to individuate or ascend, or whatever it is that whatever words it is that you want to use. And so anything that we haven't resolved from our younger years, from our childhood years, there's going to be a vibration of it that's going to show up,
Yeah.
because it's wanting to be seen and loved, and it's wanting us to stop and turn around and face it, and basically hold the hand of that child that had that experience, that basically maybe developed a belief system that's no longer serving the adult that you've become. And it's wanting the adult that you've become to turn around and hold the hand of that child and come into a place of wholeness and truth, so that you stop creating suffering for yourself.
Yeah.
Because you're perpetuating false belief systems.
Yeah.
And this is something that I'm really exploring right now, this idea of inner child work, that exact thing. And I'm launching a course on August 15th. It's a 4-week course in inner child healing with my friend Jessica Amos, to
awesome.
do this exact type of work.
Yeah.
Especially for people who've never done this type of work before. And it's the theme of my movie that just came out. I think it will have just aired when this podcast comes out, Junebug. It's about that. It's about the adult self meeting the child self, and the reckoning of that, of going, okay, let me slow down. let me go back and visit this version of myself, and so that I can come into wholeness in the present moment.
And I think that a huge part of that is, and why a lot of people struggle a little bit and are nervous to go back, and because it's scary. sometimes those things that you're going back to
Yeah.
were very traumatic or
Yeah.
dark things in your life. And so it's a very scary thing. And the last thing you feel like you want to do is go back to it again and have to deal with it. But I feel, especially in my journey, most of the trauma in my life, most of the things that have been causing me the things that I have to deal with as an adult and revisit were things from childhood, were things that I had to go to when I was younger. And those are the things that, by not dealing with them all those years, are now rearing their heads now.
Coming back.
And now I have to go
Here we go
back.
again.
And so yeah, and I think that's right. I think anybody that starts along this path is hesitant at first. I know I'm speaking to other people that are also on similar journeys. They were terrified at first because it is sometimes, it's not like when you talk about spiritual awakening, and I think everybody thinks it's like an moment and everything is, no, it's terrifying. And sometimes it's darn right hard, and it makes you angry, and it makes you sad, and it makes you like in this really dark place. But that's part of the journey, and having to deal with that to get to where you're trying to go, and to escape from that and to share your light. You have to go into the darkness in order to share the. I always liken it to the phoenix, right? The phoenix rises from darkness. It's a rebirth of the light from the darkness. And if you're unwilling to go to that darkness, you're never going to get to the point where you can show the light. And so,
I mean, the phoenix is burning. It's in a fire.
Exactly.
And that's what the process of purification on the spiritual path feels like. It feels like there are pieces of you that are burning. It's so painful to face these illusions that you've been carrying, right?
Yeah.
But that is exactly what you said. It's not all just like
rainbows,
and if it is, that's called spiritual bypassing.
yeah. It's another one of those misconceptions that people have. It's like, and I feel like, and just call me crazy if I'm crazy, but I feel like the word awakening terrifies people as well, right? They're like, oh, he's part of the woke culture and like all this kind of stuff,
right?
And it's like, it's just the whole,
again, multifaceted, and actually describes two different things in
exactly
many ways.
Exactly. And so I really just want to express how important I think the things that you do are, because for me, I mean, and I make no secret about it. I tell everybody all the time that you were the catalyst for my journey. You started me on my path. And the reason I think that that's true is because you are not, and I'm sure it wasn't always this way, but you are not afraid to just lay it out. You say what you think. You tell people, whether they're going to like it or not, you say it, but then you also come at it where a point, like for personally me, when we have our conversations and I feel very open around you, I can express myself in a way where I don't feel scared to express myself around you. And I feel it's like, because I know that you're always going to be honest with me, but you're also going to always see me and not judge me. You look for like, why am I coming at it this way? Why am I doing this? And so you'll guide, but not judge. And I think that's so important for anybody that's kind of on this path, is to find that person who will guide you, but not judge you. And another thing that I think it's really important that I think that you do for me and so many others that I know is you also make it very aware as I can guide you, I can help you, but ultimately you have to make that path. You have to guide yourself on that path. It's your journey, and you have to do these things. So you're, and I've always appreciated that. It's like, I'm not going to tell you what to do. I'm not going to you have to figure that out yourself, but I'm here to help you and here to guide you if that's what you need. And I think that's so important, because I think a lot of people live under the illusion of they've got this coach or they've got this mentor and they're just guiding and directing their life and they tell them everything that they're supposed to do. And that's just not how it works. And so I've always been very grateful that you're that person that I can look to for advice and guidance and mentorship, but you're also that person that's just straight with me and says, I look, I don't have the answer on that one. Here's what I think, but you got to figure that out yourself. Now go do the work,
Yeah.
right? You're not scared to say, go do the work. And so I love that.
You gonna do anything about that? No.
Yeah, no.
Up to you.
Yeah, no, but it's one of the things that I really love about you, and I think it's why what you're doing is so important. Because and proof is in just, for anybody who follows you or anybody who might not follow you, you started this book club, and it literally, it was amazing to me to just watch the growth of this thing and watch your growth through this thing. It started off with like maybe one or two people, and now it's this giant community. So much so, sometimes you have to do two in a month because you can't fit all the people in it. And you're launching, and we'll get into what you're launching to try to also expand upon that or whatever. But it's that because your growth, your freedom, your expression coming out through that inspired so many other people to also do that, to find the courage to start on their path that maybe they didn't even realize that they were meant to be on. Because you've got people in the group that didn't say a word the first couple times and now are openly expressing themselves and speaking about things that you could tell that in the past they were probably never going to talk about. And now they're there. So to provide and what that does for mental health, I can tell you that my journey, even having to go back and deal with the dark stuff and the stuff that makes me angry or the stuff that makes me sad, being authentic and being free and true to who I am has made me happier than I've ever been in my life, right?
Yeah.
The mental health aspect of it is being authentic and freeing yourself from things that are holding you down, even if it takes a struggle to get there, is unbelievable for the mental health aspect of life, right? Because I feel like that's the tragedy in so many people don't. And they hide it and they continue to wear the masks and they don't go in and they don't deal with it. And then tragedy happens. And I feel like, you providing a safe space for people to openly express themselves is so critically important because from day one, and I say this all the time too, you saw me. I was going through an extremely difficult time in my life and you saw me. And I think sometimes that's the critical thing in people's lives, especially when they're dealing with mental health or issues that are difficult. It's just simply somebody doing an act of kindness for them or saying something or seeing them that changes everything for them. And I think that your spiritual journey and your path and your growth is so detrimental to helping people find their way and allowing them to know. How many times have we often, when we have our little conversations and stuff, people say they're real, I thought I was the only one. It's so nice to hear everybody in the group talking about they're going through it also, right?
Yeah.
So, because I think a lot of people do that. They feel like they're the only person that could possibly be going through this, and how would anybody understand, and how many. So, to be able to provide the space that you provide and share your journey is allowing other people to do that as well, and that's huge. Thank you for that. No, it's true.
Yeah, I feel like what most of us are really wanting is to live centered in the heart. Like we are love. We're
Yes.
love.
Yeah.
That's who we are. And what we just really struggle to live from that place because we get wounded and we put up armor and we protect ourselves, and that's because we've learned that we had to do that.
Right.
And so that's the other thing on this path is a lot of self-forgiveness, because we'll go, when you have this realization, you'll go, I can't believe that I did that or lived this way for so long or did this. And the thing that I always say to people is, there's a part of you that was protecting you.
Yeah.
Good job to that part of you that held that piece of armor as long as it needed to, because that's how you survived. And now we can make a choice to put it down.
Yeah.
And so that's really what I'm trying to, what I am holding a container for is for heart-centered living, to teach us how to come back to that space, to help cultivate other heart-centered leaders. And that's it. And most of us heal just when we're in a vibration of unconditional love.
Yeah.
Our system starts to do the work itself.
Yeah.
And that's why what I'm always saying, you have all the keys within you. Everyone has all the keys for them. That's why I don't know the right choice for that person to make. Sometimes I can see, okay, you're about to make a choice that's going to lead to more suffering. But what I've learned on the path is they might need a little more suffering in order to have a breakthrough.
Right.
You know? And so I've really had to learn how to, I can be a mirror. I can offer what I see from a place of absolute release of attachment to outcome,
right.
which I've had to work on. Right? I had an absolute savior complex. No, I'm going to save you from the suffering. But then you are not allowing them to have the fullness of the experience that they need to have in order to come to completion with that energy. Right?
Yeah.
I was doing the work for people. And it wasn't serving them and it wasn't serving me.
Right.
And so I've really had to, again, this to me comes back to my faith and spirituality and trust in the divine, that the divine plan is at play and that God knows exactly how many times that person needs to go through that cycle of suffering before they wake up.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, or before they're ready to put it down. And so, yeah, what I'm going from book club, since that was, it was, I've had the book club for about a year, a little less than a year.
Yeah.
And I'm about to turn it into a community called Earth School.
Yes.
And I'm like, yeah, we're all in school together. I'm in school. I'm a student there too.
That's right.
And basically just a place for me to bring some books, bring transformational content, bring other leaders and teachers who I really like to this group of people. And for all of us to go on a transformational journey together where we can feel held and safe and seen. And exactly what you said, there's a safe space and community space developing that is feeling really good to people. And so just wanting to expand that and allow that experience to be available to more people.
Yeah.
Feels really good for right now. And so, yeah, that's what I'm doing. And that'll launch, I think, in the next couple months.
Yeah. It's amazing to see you do it. And I'm super excited for it. I just think it's going to be a I don't want to say a massive success because we don't want to judge it as a success or a failure with what it does or doesn't do.
Exactly.
If it changes one person, if it helps one, it's a massive success.
Yeah.
So to put any kind of a limit on it or a tag on it, I don't want to do. But I do think that it's going to be what you have provided already, which is a safe place for people to express themselves and feel loved. And, you know, you touched on it, unconditional love. I think that a lot of people, unconditional love is not something that people easily convey, right? For whatever reason, whether that's how they were brought up,
most of us have never experienced
exactly.
it. We don't know what the vibration of it is.
Right. Right.
Most love that we see is conditional, and the society is built on this. Get this, and then you'll be willing of love. Get this, and then you can get the guy or the girl. Get this, so it's all externally focused, and it's all consumer based.
Right.
Which is also an illusion.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And I the one thing you touched on too that I think that is very important for everybody to understand is, and I liked how you kind of said it is, you're not in control, right? So understanding that we are not in control, we are part of this connected community, if you will, right? That has a course for, and we will be where we are supposed to be, even if we don't understand where we're going. We're going where we're supposed to be. And I've always been a strong believer of when you kind of veer off that path, like you said, you will circle back because what God is going to make sure you go back. No, you got that wrong. We're going back and we're going to, you somehow are always put back on the path that you are supposed to be on. And the quicker that you understand that you are not in control and that we are all connected and how your journey plays affects how their journey plays and how their journey plays. But in we're connected and yet not connected, right? Because your journey is different from anybody else's. And yet the journey that you are on will inevitably at somehow, some way, some point play into someone else's journey, which is the beauty of it to me, right? Because this is something you have to do on your own, and yet you are connected in ways that you don't even know to someone else and what they're doing and what they're going through. And that, I love the idea of that that I might be doing something that I think is insignificant today that could be playing a huge role in somebody's life that I'm not even aware of yet. And that's the mind-blowing thing for me, right? Is to understand how that works. Does that make sense? Because it's just like, you never know. You just never know what you are doing that is going to make a difference. And
yeah, every moment's important. Every moment's important.
Yeah.
And everything is frequency. And so if I am constantly just working on myself from the inside out, where I'm going, like I'll give you a personal example. This morning I was just off. I had a lot of anger coming up. I've been doing some ancestral work recently, and so I don't know if it's related to that. Ultimately, it doesn't really matter, Is it past life? Is it this? Where it comes from? We actually don't need to know, because that's the mind. It's the energetic that was moving through me, emotion. The energy in motion was a fiery, kind of irritable energy, and I just had to work with that this morning. It doesn't work if I pretend it's not happening.
Right.
then I'm gaslighting myself. But I also don't want to take that energy and, throw it onto my kids who I was with this morning.
Yeah.
Right? That's not what I want to do with it either. And so for me, it's just kind of naming it like, ooh, I'm having a bit of a prickly morning. Yeah, don't know why, maybe I just need a little extra tenderness, a little extra space, and allowing it to move, again, without judgment and without trying to offload it onto somebody else, which is, I think, what a lot of people do with anger.
Oh, without doubt. Yeah.
Yeah, please take this for me because it's hard to carry on my own, or I'm going to direct it at you because I don't know what else to do with it.
Right.
So love is the answer. Love is the way. I'm going to bring love to it. Okay, this is what's present for me this morning. I'm just going to name it. I'm going to name it, and I'm going to be gentle with it.
Yeah.
This morning. And I'm going to recognize that I'm going to ask myself to alchemize it. And there's so many ways that you can do that. And I have a friend who's going to be launching a course on exactly this, on alchemizing anger. And by the way, there's tons of these out here. Like, there's so many communities, there's so many courses, there's so much free help. And so I say this to everybody who's listening, because you're on this path, you ask for help, and there's so much available.
Yeah.
It's all out there. But yeah, just learning to be with myself throughout this process, to not make anything wrong, and also not to make anybody else responsible for dealing with it other than me, and to take responsibility when it spills over, right? When our anger spills over, when we're bringing our depression to everybody in the house, we'll just take responsibility. Yeah, I'm really sorry that I'm contributing to the energy in this way. This is where I'm at right now. I take responsibility for it. It's not about you.
Yeah. Oh, that's so key. Responsibility for what you are putting out, right? I feel like a lot of people, especially when it concerns anger, don't want any part of taking the responsibility of dumping that. Exactly. It's always someone else's. Yeah.
Thank you for being a teacher and a trigger for me, so that I can get to know myself more deeply. Like,
yes.
What is this actually about? Where is this coming from?
Yeah.
And usually, like, what I've found in my journey with anger is, like, usually there's something that needs to be spoken, but it usually is not anywhere near the heat. Yeah. Right? I got to let the heat burn of the anger for a while. I got to, go on a walk. I got to figure it out. I got to talk. I got to, let it all boil down, alchemize down to this little nugget of there's something that needs to be said.
Right.
There's something that needs to be said. But when you get to that place, usually it feels quite neutral. And so I'm still in that process with my anger from this morning. I have not figured out what it was about. And so, I'll just be with it until it tells me.
Because I want to jump into a couple of things that you said there, because I think it's a good segue in. But I'm just wondering how many people are watching this right now going, she gets angry? No way. She's like one of the nicest people I've ever known. Like, she can't find Autumn angry? I know, because you're like America's sweetheart. You're just like this genuinely kind, big smiled, sweet person. And they're like, oh, she gets angry? Uh-oh. And
oh no, there's a real lighter in here.
Yeah, no. I've seen just a tad of that. I'm just just gonna say, no,
It's definitely, you can go through my roles. It's there.
yeah, no,
It's there.
yeah. Trust me, guys and
Yeah.
gals, do not upset her. Like, even if it's unintentional, do not upset her. Like, she'll let you know. Which again, it goes back to, I appreciate that you're not scared to let somebody know. It's like, hey, that pisses me off.
Yeah,
Take
and
care of this.
hopefully in a place of letting it boil down, so it comes from a neutral place by
Sure.
the time you bring it to the person that you want to have a conversation with.
Oh,
hopefully.
absolutely. But I've said it time and time again. I kind of like feisty Autumn. It's like it's a whole different look for anybody who.
All the parts of us get to be.
That's right.
Be on
That's
this
right.
journey together.
But what I like that you said is that sometimes you need to just take a step back or go on a walk, get away from the flame, get away from the kind of thing. So, do you have certain practices that you find work best for you in your journey, be it meditation or be it what works best for you, do you find when you are dealing with situations like that? Or do you have a regular routine?
They're all there. I've gone through many different ways of anyway, what I want to say is I've had many different routines. There's been periods of time where I meditate and pray every morning and it goes like this and it's at a specific time and I'm very devotional and disciplined. And then there are times where my life is more the devotional experience and I'm bringing that energy to everything. I would say that meditation for people who are really, that's always like the best go-to.
Yeah.
Because you'll get the best answers there. The only time that it's not advised, that I would say, is when you're going through a very extreme passage in spiritual awakening where everything is feeling like a lot, or when you're dealing with trauma. Both of those meditation can be too deep for.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
in those times, you're going to want to get a different type of help. You're going to want to do grounding work, eat meat if you can do that, and just like things that are more nourishing practices. And obviously, getting trauma help if that's the issue there. And for anger, I think physical movement, anger has a lot of energy behind it because it's an energetic that is meant to move into action.
Yeah.
And so going for a run, people say punching pillows, it's really every cliche that you can think. Here's the thing, we actually all know.
Yeah.
We all know all of these, all
Yeah.
of the tools. They're all out there and they're all available. It's just usually we don't want to do them or we talk ourselves out of them.
Right.
And then jumping in the ocean is like the best, or any body of water, really.
Yeah.
I say the ocean because this is where I live, but the shower, the bath, any of that, it's a cleansing for whatever you're going through.
Yeah, I love that. Whenever I'm dealing with a situation like that, primarily with dealing with anger situations or sometimes other situations, but my go-to is always nature. I always either go on a hike or I'll climb a mountain and by a stream or by a lake where the waterfall, whatever, and I just speak aloud. I just let it go out loud, right? I look a little weird to some people, I'm sure, but I'm hiking by and I'm sitting there like that guy's talking to himself. But it is. I find it very refreshing and very healing for me to just be, okay, I'm going to get out. I'm going to isolate myself. I'm going to take in all of this around me in nature and reconnect and then just say what I got to say and get it out of there. And it's very healing for me when I do that. So that's kind of my go-to. So now I'm sharing all my secrets. Now whenever anybody sees that I posted I went on a hike, it's like, oh, he must have been angry today. It's like, no, not always. It's sometimes I'm just going on a hike. But I do though. I find that everybody kind of, and like you said, it's so transformational because it's always different. What works now for a series of, months or years might not be how I do it a year from now, right? It's that whatever is working at the moment of where I need to be and how I need to be.
And you, like, going back to what we were saying earlier, is like, you have the answers in you.
Yeah.
And if you just get quiet enough and you ask, dear God, what can I do?
Yes.
Higher self, please tell me the way. Please tell me what needs to be done. And you're quiet long enough, the answer will come.
That's right. But
Most of us have resistance to stillness.
Yep.
And to being quiet. And that's why, meditation can be such a transformative experience for multiple reasons, but because most of us are not alone with ourselves for 5 minutes at a time. we've got the TV on, we've got Instagram scrolling. Like we make everything noisy so that we don't have to hear what is.
I, yeah, that nails it, right? Because I feel like whether it's you putting it out to the universe, whether it's you having a conversation one on one like we are now, whatever the case may be, I feel like that is a central theme, is learning to be quiet and listen. I don't think we all have an opinion. We all talk. We're all willing to throw it out there, but we're not always, like you said, willing to sit in stillness and be quiet and listen and take in what maybe somebody's trying to say to us, whatever that message may be from whoever it may be from. We do have a difficult time sitting in stillness and waiting for that to hear what we need to hear sometimes. That's a great point.
Yeah, and you can put your focus on your heart. For anyone at home who's looking to start a meditation practice, you can just breathe and breathe into the heart space for 5 minutes a day, because a lot of us are so used to living up here.
Yeah.
This is going to chatter away. And so, oh, yeah, right? And just see if you can feel the beat of your heart, which most of us can't
No.
at first, right?
Yeah.
But simply the practice of saying, the devotional practice of I am going to sit and be with stillness in my heart space is enough to start the process of massive change.
Oh, without doubt, and it's critical, in my opinion, to start that massive change, because we are in a society that's just go, 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 go. And people base success or failure on whether you're go, 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 go. I mean, how many times do you is someone called lazy, or you're not being productive, or you're not, it's this mindset that culture puts on us that if you're not constantly busy doing something, somehow you're failing at something. It's like, no,
Yeah.
you need to just step back, sit, find that moment of peace, and I don't think enough people understand how critical that is in moving forward and living a happy life, is to understand how that balance works, right? And oh, it's so important. And the other thing too is because I want to put this out there for anybody that's listening that might still be a little confused by it. There are so many things we're not saying that you have to go live on a mountaintop. We're not saying that you have to give up your worldly possessions. We're not saying that, there's so many, like, oh, if I start on this spiritual journey, I've got to be a monk or a nun, or I have to do this, or I have to do that. It's like, no, you don't have to do any of that. It's learning to balance life and understanding the connectability of there's a bigger picture and it's all connected, and it's how do you fit into this picture and how do you move forward, kind of a thing. Because I think a lot of people really do confuse it with I have to drastically change my life. It has to be instant. I have to go from who I am now to who I'm this, like overnight, kind of a thing. And it's not. It's called journey for a reason. Right? It's a path, it's a journey, and it's evolving all the time. And it's not an overnight process, right? You don't just go, oh, I'm going to start a spiritual journey, I'm awakened, and now I'm this new person, and it happened like in 24 hours. That's not how it works. So, I want to make sure everybody understands that. It's not like an overnight, boom, I made this decision, and now this is the life I live. Mine's been years, 8, 9 years now of constant growth, constant change, constant trying to, and like you said, in instances, circling back and revisiting somewhere that I was 4 years ago and having to go back and figure it out again. So it is a long journey, and it is not always an easy one. And I want people to understand that, because, we're not trying to, I don't want to misrepresent that it's some sort of an easy transformational thing and your life is going to be perfect if you decide to go on this path. And this, it's also understanding and not being in judgment that this journey and this path isn't for everybody. It's just not how you are, or how where you're going to be, and that's okay too, right? Because I feel like so often we put judgment on, if you're not doing what I've done, there's somehow something wrong with you. Why aren't you doing it? And which is also very detrimental to relationships and mental health, and just people in your life, judging them for what you think they should be doing and what they're doing. So it's quite the ride, though. I will say that it's quite the ride, and I am truly happier than I've ever been. And then, but also dealing with a lot of stuff that I never thought that I would be able to deal with, and publicly coming out and sharing those journeys. It's fascinating to me that, at a certain point, my ex-wife says, I didn't even know that about you. Like, when I'm sharing something, she's like, and then I realized quickly, I'm like, I never shared that with her. Why didn't I share that with her?
Right.
Let me go back and look about why that's something I never told her, right? Like it's little things like that. They're like, maybe that was part of the problem. Maybe I didn't share something I probably should have shared with her. Like, it's been amazing. And I thank you literally every day. You inspire me so much, and I'm just a completely different person because you took a moment to see me, and I don't know if I'll ever be able to.
We know each other because we had I don't know, somebody connected us. I was shooting a movie in Mississippi, and somebody said, this guy is a fan of yours. Will you go have coffee with him? Yeah. And it's not something that I usually do. And Spirit was just like, go meet. And we met for coffee.
Yeah.
And then you basically just went and changed your whole life.
Basically.
I didn't really, that's the thing. I didn't have anything to do with it.
Well, yeah, I mean, you kind of.
Coffee.
Yeah. You know what it was for me, honestly? It was because of what you just said. You said you don't normally do something like that, right? It's not something that you typically do. And you said that exact thing to me because you asked me about what I wanted to do. Because you asked me, well, what do you do and what do you want to do? And I was kind of explaining, well, this is what I want to do, but I don't really.
You were at a crossroads.
Yeah, and I thought it had passed me by, and I didn't think I could do it anymore. And I remember, and it always just distinctly sticks out in my head. You said, well, did you think you'd be sitting here having coffee with me today? Did you think this would happen? And that sprung something in me. It's like nothing is impossible. Nothing is, anything can happen, and you're not in control of it. And sometimes, and you just, that little reaching out to me just, and having that conversation that we had and then you saying that just made me realize, why do I think I can't do something? Why do I think this isn't going to happen or that can't happen? Because anything can. And anything, so like I said, that was really.
Life is wild. We have no idea what's around the corner.
No.
The craziest thing could happen 5 minutes from now.
Without doubt.
You have no idea.
Yeah.
And I think that's why it goes back to what you were sharing earlier about that every moment matters.
Every moment.
And you can change somebody's life at the coffee shop.
Yes.
You can change somebody's life walking down the street. You can change somebody's life walking their dog.
Yeah.
It's something that's available to all of us all the time, and it comes from living in a heart-based frequency.
Exactly. And that day forever changed my life. It's just coming from a place of I still, that day, I thought it was total bullshit. I thought somebody was yanking me. I was like, there's no way that's really her. That's just not even going to happen. Right. And I opened the message and I'm like, even when I open it, I'm like, it can't possibly be her. Somehow somebody's faking this shit. And until you walked through the door, I was convinced it was totally like, so it's just a crazy day all the way around. But yeah. And now here we are almost 8 years later. It's just crazy.
And now you have a podcast and you've made movies.
Yes.
And you moved. And you were just getting started, and there was a story running where you were like, I'm at the end, and I'm at the end of one thing because I'm at the beginning of another.
Yeah, and look at you, Same thing. Look at you.
Yeah,
your whole, I know that. That
well.
person 8 years ago, definitely not the same person, right? Yeah. And you're getting ready to launch this community, and all these, the growth I've seen in you. But the central thing, though, that never changes is that inner light and that love that you always exude out into the world. That never changes. It's that person who met me for coffee, the person that's having this conversation today, that is always who you are. So while your life has drastically changed and you are at a different place in your life and on your path and in your journey, that one thing, in my opinion, has never changed. And that's just, I think, who you are. That is your true, authentic self. And I don't think you could be any other way. I just don't think it's possible for you to be any other way, because you are the epitome of love and kindness and light. And so I think if you wanted to be,
sometimes with a little dash of anger.
That's right. Sometimes feisty. Sometimes feisty.
All
Yeah.
parts of us get to come. Yeah, exactly. But thank you so much. That's
No,
that's so
it's
sweet.
true. It's
thank
true.
you, and thank you for having me on. We always have good conversations,
Oh,
and
always.
it's always just amazing to see you on where you're at on your trajectory and what you're creating and building in the world. It's such a pleasure.
Same. So tell everybody, though. I want to make sure we tell everybody. So, and again, remind people when it's launching. So it's called Earth School.
All of this you can find on my website, which is autumnreeser.com. And it's funny, this is like my first time starting to really like offer all of these things and be like, here's my website. So it's a little vulnerable, but yeah, come to my website.
Yeah.
And the first thing that will be there is this inner child healing course. And I'm really excited about it. We have some really amazing teachers there, and just the opportunity to have a group of people that we go deep with for 4 weeks and take on a transformational journey from beginning to end, especially for people who've never done this type of work before.
Yeah.
You know, this is a really safe place to come in and start to do it, and do it with some amazing healers and practitioners and teachers, and nothing's going to be too woo-woo. It's very practical, very practical and very fun, because it's an inner child course, right?
Yeah.
So that's the first offering. And then after that, I'll be opening up the community, and it's called Earth School. And it's a monthly membership community for transformational work.
I simply cannot wait for that to happen. I know it's been something long in the works, and I am so excited for people to be able to be a part of that, because I think it's going to change lives. I legitimately think it's going to change lives. And I love that how your last movie, and I just love how all of this is coming into your professional side also of what you're doing, and you're feeling more comfortable sharing your journey and what you're doing in that aspect, right? Because, I mean, Junebug, like you said, it's all about what you are going through currently with the inner child and the different things. So I love how that's now playing a role in where you're going professionally as well. I think that's just another expression of how you put yourself out there and how you're sharing yourself with the world. And I'm not surprised that it's a massive hit. I like ratings numbers. You know, when the ratings numbers come out,
I'm excited about it. I'm really proud of it. David Weaver directed it. Summer Israel Johnson wrote it, and we have an amazing team, and everybody poured a lot of love into it. And Antonio Cupo and I and Steve Harmon are executive producing it.
Yeah.
And so it was just such a joy to bring this story to the screen, and Bart Fisher and Felicia Kennedy Kramer are the executive producers on it over at Hallmark. I'm giving everybody a shout out.
Yes,
they all deserve it, and it's an amazing team, and I'm so excited to bring everything to bring this story to everyone.
Yes, and continued. I hope we see more of that. I hope every idea that sparks in your head along your journey, you turn into something like that.
Well, maybe not all of them. They're not all good ideas, Dustin.
You know, everybody's got to have a bomb every now and then, Autumn, okay? I mean, you're on your 20th film, and you haven't missed yet. So I feel like, you know, not that I wish a bomb on you, but they happen. It's okay. Not every idea works.
Let's just pray that those never make it to the screen.
That's right. Right.
Those are left on the drawing board.
Yeah, let's hope somebody has the guts to tell you, you know, let's not do that one, Autumn.
They do.
Good.
Exactly.
Got to surround yourself with those people.
One another, exactly.
That's right.
Well, such a pleasure chatting with you.
Yes,
so
as always, and just thank you so much, and open invite for this one, and as always on the other one, and just I could not be more grateful for you. Thank you so much for coming on here. Thank you for your friendship. Thank you for everything that you've done for me and so many other people. You are just simply the best.
I have no words. That was like an amazing send off. Thank you.
You're welcome. We'll be in touch soon, okay?
Okay.
All right.
Thanks for having me.
See ya. Wow, what a conversation. I always feel like every time we talk, it's definitely one of those. We get real deep, but we always also have a really great time and keep it fun and real. That's the one thing I love about the conversation, is that they're always real and genuine. You know what you're getting, and yeah, this journey that I'm on, this journey that she's been on, and I know that probably so many of you are currently on or getting ready to be on. It's such an amazing journey, and now that this is out there, now that you guys kind of know where I'm at and what I'm doing and the kind of things that I've been going through over the years, I hope you'll follow along with my journey, and I feel like I'm a bit more open to share that journey now, where in the past maybe I wasn't. Yeah, wow. And definitely go head over to autumnreeser.com and sign up and check that out, because you will be happy that you did, I promise you. Thank you again, Autumn, for coming on the show, and just, yeah.